We are gathered today just for giving support to Mr. Gareth Snell. So he's a candidate of this central ward.
Thank you, Azim, for inviting us all here today in support of Gareth Snell, who I hope will be our MP on 4th of July. So we need to support him as much as we can. They were in control for 8 years, and they have ruined everything in the city. When we took over, the city was completely declined. That's where everything was. And
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. I think, first of all, we are gathered here today in support of Gareth Now. We all know the suffering we've going through for the last 14 years with the Tory government and the First Minister, number 10 now. We need to get rid of.
We actually actively supporting the genocide in Gaza. Do you know that? We are actively, not passively, actively, because we got into power, is the Muslims in Stoke got into power, Ruth Smith, 2015. Yeah? Ruth Smith, she used to win for a pro-Israel lobby group before she got into politics. And she was used to get rid of Jeremy Corbyn. Then she restored and she lost. And we went to the House of Lords. 26th of October, they made it a defense secretary. 4th of July, she was from the Minister of Defense. This is how they made it.
The Israel lobby exists, it's real, and it's coming to a parliament near you. Our parliament should not be a space for professional lobbyists of a foreign state. Keir Starmer goes to great lengths to talk up his patriotism and putting country first. But what country? Keir Starmer was very evasive when asked who funded his leadership campaign.
Labour Party members who are being asked to vote for you should know who's bankrolling your campaign.
That is why the Labour Party set up those rules.
But you won't tell us. The other candidates in this contest have published who is bankrolling their campaign. You seem to be hiding behind this process. Why won't you simply tell us tonight who are your 5 biggest donors?
We can reveal that Keir Starmer's leadership campaign was actually bankrolled by arch-Israel lobbyist Trevor Chin. Trevor Chin is also on the executive board of BICOM, Israel's largest lobby group in this country. BICOM today is currently headed by Richard Pater, who is a reserve in the Israeli military and formerly was employed by the Israeli Prime Minister's office.
So Luke Erkas is the director of We Believe in Israel. He's one of the best in the inside, in all the parts. Seriously, there's not a lot of people like him.
This individual could very well be a minister of state very soon. We Believe in Israel, Akehurst's project, which, as Shai Massoud mentions, shares an office with BICOM, has admitted to having a range of stakeholders which include the Israeli embassy. When Conservative MP Alan Duncan stood to be selected as the foreign minister, the Conservative Friends of Israel militated against him. In fact, Duncan even went so far as saying the Conservative Friends of Israel think they control the Foreign Office, and they probably do.
I was offered the job of foreign minister, implicitly to be in charge of the Middle East. And before it was even announced, the top apparatus of the Conservative Friends of Israel used their influence in number 10 and the Foreign Office to lobby to stop me getting it, quite simply because they don't approve of my views on Palestine. The way in which forces lobbied to stop me is evidence of the fact that this is a very, very improper relationship, should be decoupled from representation within UK politics of funding allied to the interests of another country.
Throughout the Corbyn years, the Board of Deputies were inescapable. They did everything they could to bring down Jeremy Corbyn. The Board of Deputies states it has a close working relationship with the Israeli embassy and strengthened links with the IDF spokesman's department and the Ministry of Strategic Affairs. The march of the Labour Party deeper and deeper into the clutches of the Israel lobby continued. And under Starmer's leadership, the Labour Party accepted a £5 million donation from Israel lobbyist Gary Lubner. Interesting aspect of this capture of the Labour Party is the case of Asaf Kaplan, an individual who emerged out of Unit 8200 in the Israeli military. It monitors Palestinian communications and uses that information to blackmail them into becoming collaborators. Now, why would Keir Starmer employ Asaf Kaplan from Unit 8200 in the Labour Party office to carry out quote-unquote social listening? Ultimately, the Labour Party is a criminal conspiracy against its membership. And even the information that I've relayed in this video is merely the tip of the iceberg. How would it sound if I was to say that somebody simultaneously sits in the British House of Lords at the same time as being an employee of the Israeli government? But the story of where we are today with Keir Starmer can actually be traced to the Blair era. It is a little known fact that Israel lobbyists had a key role in not only getting Tony Blair elected as leader of the Labour Party, but also getting him elected as Prime Minister of this country. Tony Blair was first introduced to Michael Levy by Israeli embassy political officer Gideon Mir, while Tony Blair was the Shadow Home Secretary of the Labour Party under John Smith. Levy then set about raising funds for Blair and his leadership campaign from key Israel lobbyists like Emmanuel Kay, who was the head of Labour Friends of Israel, and also the chairman of Westfield, Frank Lowy, and Trevor Chin, who now funds David Lammy and Keir Starmer. After Tony Blair entered government with this help from Michael Levy, he then appointed him as an unofficial envoy at the British Foreign Office to the Middle East. And today, that very same individual, Michael Levy, nicknamed Lord Cashpoint because he raised over £100 million for Blair's Labour Party, is today fundraising for Keir Starmer's Labour Party. Following Tony Blair's time as Prime Minister, in which he launched illegal wars against Iraq and Afghanistan, he went on to be a peace envoy to the Middle East, being based inside occupied Palestine. But he had a key conflict of interest which is rarely emphasized. Tony Blair is a patron of the largest settlement building body in Palestine, the JNF. Other patrons of the JNF also include Benjamin Netanyahu and Isaac Herzog, the current president of Israel. In addition to that, Tony Blair's wife, Sherry Blair, also simultaneously served as an ethical advisor to the NSO group, the Israeli intelligence firm which brought us the Pegasus spyware, which was found to have hacked the phones of over 50,000 journalists, activists, and political figures, including employees of the British government, reaching close to Boris Johnson. Early on in the Gaza genocide, David Lammy, tipped to be the next foreign secretary of this country, went to great lengths to spread genocide propaganda against Palestinians. He claimed, unchallenged on Sky News, that Palestinian fighters had babies.
1,300 people dead, murdered, babies.
Not long after delivering that interview, David Lammy received £70,000 from Israel lobbyist Gary Lubner. And not long after registering that donation, David Lammy voted against a ceasefire in Gaza. When Israel represents its political position on the news these days, its official spokesperson is David Mensa. David Mensa was the head of the Labour Friends of Israel. But between being the head of the Labour Friends of Israel and being the official Israeli government spokesman, David Mensa managed communications for David Lammy in his failed 2016 run for London Mayor. Let's not forget that David Lammy has of course also been funded by key Israel lobbyist Trevor Chin. Labour's shadow health minister has not only been funded by Israel lobbyist Trevor Chin, he's also had his office costs paid for him by Jonathan Mendelssohn's Red Capital organization, at the same time as Mendelssohn had a role at Europa Healthcare, a private healthcare organization which was benefiting from the privatization of the NHS. But who else is Mendelssohn? Mendelssohn was the leader of the Labour Friends of Israel. What you have to remember about an individual like Keir Starmer is every single one of the progressive-ish sounding policies that he ever had, he has gone back on. You cannot trust a single word that comes out of his mouth. Keir Starmer will betray you. He'll get into positions by claiming that he is the antidote, but essentially he will deepen the very same problems that he claimed he could solve.